I was accompanying my sister on a standard cross-country trip. Then an irate peasantry tried to commandeer her blanket. She believed screaming secure victory, but bystanders and compose fighting in Doreen. It was everything. I used to resolve the situation calmly my she faced her controversies. Before I began, ignore your true intro today. The candlight's lower, a steady drum emanates from the floor. I'm Leo Wash, row 14. My sister, Clara, has a deep, crimson-weighted blanket that steadies her when the world feels unsteady. In the aisle seat, 14C, a woman named Brenda Lawson reaches for it as if it were complimentary amenity. I intercept her wrist. She smiles, thin and insincere. The match has begun. Our story, my sister Clara's and mine, starts in the organized tumult of airport boarding. It was meant to be a journey, a visit to say our relatives. Primary jet, set, fly, cousins, I told Clara. Secondary jata, avoid any major incidents. Clara gave a knowing smirk. On boarding group 3, to draw my eyes barred before we do. Right on cue, one's phones at a maximum volume. No, I specified artisanal, he snapped. A gentleman in tweed blazer behind us murmured, I prefer my peace and quiet to eat gluten-free. Adjourned slyly. O second mot. Clara, so brow. Why things I see, var I can dodge. One, Brenda, paced past, kind line the gossip purpose. The gate agent caught my eye. I held up 2 fingers. Group 3. He nodded. We shared the English look of people who respect a seizure. Let's focus on our seats, I told Clara. 14A and 14B. Win it for you. She nodded, and 14C horrifying stranger. Reply my attention on to the viewers, I said. The viewers seemed as insecure. For Clara, any flight is a significant challenge. Her anxiety isn't loud or panicked. It's a heavy, quiet weight that settles on her the moment we purchase the tickets, growing denser as the travel day arrives. That's where her blanket is essential. It's not just any blanket. It's a deep, vibrant, ruby-weighted blanket. It's her armor, her shield, her mobile sanctuary. It weighs about 15 pounds, and the gentle, constant pressure acts like a reassuring embrace. It works. It keeps the anxiety at bay. And that's all that matters to me. We were in boarding group 3, the airport's method of saying, proceed quickly to another waiting area. Clara was practicing a grounding technique, identifying textures around her. Just then, she was touching the cool metal of the seat frame, the worn fabric of her jeans, the smooth surface of her phone, and the soft fleece of her blanket, still neatly folded in her carry-on. I can hear the boarding announcement, a baby fussing, and that woman's very loud phone conversation, she whispered to me, a tiny smile touching her lips. The loud conversation was, of course, coming from our soon-to-be antagonist, Brenda. She was a few yards away, nearly shouting into her phone about someone who had botched a catering order. No, sincere, I said artisanal bread, not basic sandwich loaf. Isn't English beyond your comprehension? She proclaimed, oblivious to the dozens of people round her ruining their eyes. She was dressed in what I call this bread as costly taupe, with a severe angular haircut that octi cat size pair. Her face was friendly pinched, she just can't foul over, and was haughty responsual. When our group was called, she seamlessly inserted herself at the front, presenting her boarding pass to the agent as if it were a royal decree. A few people muttered, but no one confronted her. That's the tactic of such individuals. They rely on the fact that most people simply want to get through the day without a major confrontation. Clara stiffened beside me, her knuckles white where she gripped her bag. It's all right, I murmured, placing a hand on her shoulder. We'll on soon. Just focus on the seat. 14A and 14B. Window for you. Meal from me. Sing. We win 14A, 14B. Brenda at 14C, a aisle. A single aisle aircraft, 3-3 Our sheets were just past the wing, a spot Claire prefers because you can watch the control surfaces move. I shuffled down the jet bridge, the air, going close, at the third cabin self lean squeeze, underscreed by low ibrisnu We thade our rue, that's when the first sign toe merged. All the overhead bin space directly above our was occupied. Not just occupied, but taken by a single medium-sized suitcase laid flat, consuming the space of 3 regular bags. It was a taupe suitcase. Naturally, pardon me, a man in a friendly-looking tweed jacket said from across the aisle, "Ma'am, if you turn your bag vertically, there'll be room for everyone's eyes." Hughes crat. It was common courtesy. Brenda, who dus right seat, shot and glared at Kansar Milg. "It fits more securely this way. It protects the contents," she retorted, not even looking at him, instead focusing on stuffing her oversized tote under the seat in front of her. The man, who I would later learn was a high school history teacher, named Mr. Albright, simply sighed and shook his head, finding a spot for his own bag a few rows back. 3 upright bags are superior to 1 reclining suitcase, he remarked, Hatwin said. Brenda patted the top bag. "It contains a glassware." Mr. Albright shrugged. "So does the aircraft." I slid our bags into a gaff 2 rows up. Clara exhaled. We finally sat in. Clara unfolded a ruby blanket. Baby fabrics and a lap atop it bare. The rich car was a stark contrast to the muted navy of the airline seats. She took a deep, measured breath, her shoulders relaxing for the first time all day. She was in her safe haven. She was secure. I smiled at her, and she gave me a small, grateful smile in return. We had approximately 90 seconds of peace. Then Brenda, from her aisle seat, leaned over me, her perfume a chemical assault. Her eyes were Ferkstein-class-like. "Excuse me," she said, her voice dripping fabrique oi. "Where did you acquire that?" The first shot had been fired. A skirmish for row 14 had officially commenced. Hare looked up, stalled. She had had no confrontation where, as they and strangers. She tends to enjoy, to make her so swy. I saw her shoulders hunch as she poured the liquor theater. "Oh, I pried from home," she said, her voice barely audible. Decided it was time to step in. "I'm her older brother. My role is to the butler, the shield, the sarcastic lying defense against a Brenda's at the war. It's a Wade blanket," I stated, turning to face her with a neutral, unbothered expression. "It helps mind inside it in fights. I thought that would cahoot it, a simple spinning for a simple query. But I was dealing the professional." Brenda wasn't seeking an explanation. She was seeking a conflict. She scoffed, a small puff of air that was pure condescension. "A weighted blanket. That's absurd. It's a garish red. It's clearly airline property for first-class patrons. And you've taken it." I blinked, actually blinking, trying to process the sheer audacity of her logic. The blanket was a specific medical-grade item Clara had said for. The notion that it belonged to the airline was utterly preposterous. It was almost comical. Almost. My tone wasn't humorous, or accusatory. Is the tone so and I didn't have no intention starting that. "Ma'am," I said, keeping my voice as level as possible, "I can assure you this is not for the airline. It's a personal line, just like your purse." She waved a submissive hand, her rings catching the cabin light. "Don't be ridiculous. It coordinates with the crew's uniform accents. I've seen them. With these before. The reserve for preen travelers feel chill." She was inventing facts. It's a master class in tattle fabrication. Her eyes narrowed, and then she did. He reached to catch my light, her arm and laid in my personal space, her long, manicured fingers aiming for the edge of Clara's blanket. "I'm feeling rather chilly myself. I'll be taking it." Her fingers brushed the fabric. Claire flinched so violently, she nearly leapt from her seat, clutching blanket to her chest, a lifeline. My protective instincts, always simmering just beneath the surface where Claire is concerned, surged. I didn't think. I moved my oaring, blocking hers. "Do not touch my sister," I said. My voice was low and all pretense of humor was gone. It was a direct command. That's when a new voice joined. Calm, cool authority. "Is everything all right? Here." Y'all looked up. Stanya was fighting. She'd a kind face, but her eyes were sob, misnothad. Her name tag read Chloe. She was, I pretend, her savior. Chloe, composed gaze, voice of command. From here on, she's Chloe. "All right, folks," Chloe said softly. "It's not author sequel for ye taken render Brayton. Precisely. A thin first-class amenity." Chloe blinked once. "Our amenity blankets are navy blue and rather thin. One ruby red on looks classy station, ayad. Make a rhyme." Chloe nod. "Also known as not your concern." Then to Clara, gentler. "You're fine, sweetheart," Brenda scoffed. "Well, I'm freezing." Chloe tilted her head. "I can adjust the temperature slightly, bring you some hot tea and check for a spare airline bank. Or I can soothe their seat, away in the air vent. Your choice." Brenda crossed her arms. "No." Chloe eyed a tight smile. "Understood." Solution declined. Brenda immediately retracted her hand and transformed. Her aggressive posture melted, replaced by the look of the concerned, wronged citizen. It was an award-way performance. "Oh, thank goodness," she said to Chloe, her voice now saccharine. "These two taken one the crented blanket her first clad. I was sent least friend and it's for horn passengers, and since I'm quite warmed, I intend to use it." She pointed a perfectly manicured finger at Clara, who looked like she wished the seat would absorb her. Chloe's gaze shifted from Brenda's dramatic face to my stony one, then sailed on Clara, who's clutching the ruby blanket with a desperate reap. Claws of friffing softened for a fraction of a second. She understood. She'd need a lower explanation. She wished the seed knew precisely what was harboring. She turned her professional, unwavering gaze back to Brenda. "Ma'am, I can assure you that it's not an airline blanket. Our blankets are blue, lightweight, and sealed in plastic. That is very clearly personal item." Her tones polite but held an undercurrent of steel. Brenda's face fell. Her masculine, sweet reason slipped, revealing the sour intent beneath. "Wow, it too to be permitted. It's unprofessional, and it's consuming an excessive amount of space." Chloe didn't hesitate. "It is her personal item, and it's resting safely on her lap. It's not an issue." Then, in more strategic genius, she offered an olive branch at Zossel a test. "If you're cold, ma'am, I can adjust the temperature, bring hot tea, and tack for a spare blanket. The choice is yours." She presented all reasonable solutions, cornering Brenda. Because it was never about being cold. It was about control. It was about seeing something someone else valued and deciding she was more deserving. Brenda was momentarily serious. A certain cause order would mean error. Refusing would reveal her true motives. She Trones saw in silence. She crossed her arms, glared at Chloe, then turned her face toward the window, despite having an aisle seat. Message was clear. She was displeased, and this was not conclude. Chloe ran another moment, then turned to me and Claire. She leaned in slightly, her voice lower. "Are you two all right?" I nod. "We're fine, thank you." Claire gave a small shaky nod, her eyes wide. Chloe gave her a reassuring smile. "It's a lovely blanket," she said to Clara before straightening up. She addressed Brenda one last time, voice firm. "Man, please be mindful of other passengers' personal space lines. We're in a confined area. so let's endeavor to make this a paying jury for a viewing. It was a clear, final warning. A boundary had been established. With a final sweep of our row, Chloe continued down the aisle, a silent guardian of the cabin. The immediate crisis was averted. What as I observed Brenda's reflection in the darker plain window, I saw the tight saff ajar and the furious glint in her eyes. Chloe had won a vial. A Breno was the type who pursued the weir. I knew, with a sinking feeling, the next several hours feel intolerable. The plane took off, and for a while, it was quiet. Deceptively so. Clara, wrapped in her scarlet fortress, had headphones on, listening to a podcast on medieval history, her preferred distraction. As they could follow turbulent and learn a few Gothics, and tended to read, but why focus is fractured. I was hyper a while lying beside me, when it was mooing. But I could feel her anger radiating like heat. She was stewing. I was determined to ignore her. My entire mission was to be a calm, uninteresting barrier between her and my sister. If I paraded no reaction, perhaps she would grow bored and target someone else. It was a nice theory. It was also entirely incorrect. About an hour into the flight, she leaned toward me again. Her voice was a low, conspiratorial hiss. You know, that thing is likely breeding ground for germs. People shouldn't be allowed to bring soil environment with their homes onto a sanitized aircraft. I set my book tongue and turned to her slowly. It's laundered regularly, I said, my voice flat, and sparely clearer than the treacle you're about to use. It was a snide remark I likely shouldn't have made, but my patience was staying. She requires I insult her irrity. How dare you, she whispered, her eyes wide with indignation. This was her game, heroic and provoke, and won't sound respite, breathed he. I knew I could win direct argument. Will escalate, lusting verity, and required a neutrality. I needed to de-escalate, to remove the target from her line of sight. I looked at Clara, peacefully engrossed in her podcast, and at the empty middle seat next to me. An idea formed, a simple, elegant solution. I had time for a tactical repositioning. I tapped Clara on the shoulder to remove one headphone. What's up? Hey, I said, cueing my tone light. How about we suite? If 8 window, I take the middle. I'll sit between you and 14C so you can rest more comfortably. Wasn't faucet, that'd be better for her. We both knew the real reason. I was about placing another my buy, between her and the problem in seat 14C. Clara understood immediately. A look of profound relief washed over her face. Oh, yeah, okay, that'll be great. The maneuver was awkward, involving unbuckling, shuffling, and contorting in the cramped space. Brenda watched the entire process with intense disdain, as if he were performing an illicit ritual. We managed it without contacting, which I considered a victory. Clara sailed into the window seat, 14A. She killed against the wall, pulled a ruby blanket toward Chen, and closed her eyes. She was now in the safest possible position, barred by me and the aircraft's structure. I was now in 14B, the middle seat, directly beside Brenda. I was the new front line. I buckled my seatbelt, bit my book, and prepared for a long visual. I fixed Brenda's eyes on me, and look, and to stare at the perch, feigning the interest. "What is that, Bart?" she finally demanded, a voice sharp. I looked up. My sister wanted the window seat. "It's more comfortable," she snorted, a sound of pure disbelief. Just trying to conceal that unsanitary blanket from me. I finally looked at her. I offered a tight smile. "No, man, I'm just trying to read my book." I turned back to the bait. The window seating was over. There were a few minutes of work. Silence. Just the Thor's hum. But I had underestimated her tenacity. The physical barrier of my body wasn't enough to halt her relentless sense of entitlement. Shinshie Nutatik, the dramatic shiver. She began vigorously rubbing her arms, her bracelets clattering. It's absolutely frigid in here, a dreadful draught. She sat non-articular, was loud enough for the entire road to hear. She was performing, attempting to build a public case for why she, a poor, freezing woman, deserved a warm ruby blanket more than the comfortable curve by the window. I knew couldn't another Artemy. That's what she wanted. A scene. Pas a kidnap performance continue unchecked. My mind raced. What could I do? Arguing was out. Ignoring was a temporary fix. Then, a beautifully petty, wonderfully sarcastic idea ignited. It was time to fight manufactured shivering with manufactured kindness. The flight attendants were commencing their beverage. As Chloe approached our row, I signaled her. "Excuse me," I'd said with a polite smile. "Could I please have a ginger ale?" "Of course," she said, handing me past a cup of ice and can. With a jink came napkin, a tiny, flimsy, nearly transparent square of paper. It was perfect. I took a sip of my drink, then turned to Brenda, who had paused her shivering to glare at the cart. I unfolded the tiny napkin with exaggerated care, smoothing it as if it were precious textile. I held it out to her between my thumb and forefinger. "Here," I said, my voice dripping with faux concern. "You mentioned you were cold. Please, take this. It's not much, but I'd hate for you to catch a chill." I offered her the napkins as if it were a luxurious Shah. For a second, she stayed, rain processing the surrey. Her eyes flickered from the pathetic napkin to my deadpan face. The sheer ridiculousness of the gesture hung between us. "What's the owl?" I heard a shan, a choked out shore latcher. It was Mr. Albright. He had big open, was watching, over his reading glasses. His shoulders shook slightly before he hid his face behind the book. The damage was done. Someone had laughed at her. And his face, pale from her fake chill, began to flush a blotchy, furious red. The mask of the shivering victim was incinerated by her raid. She looked at me, her eyes like slits of burning coal. "You think you're terribly clever, don't you?" she hissed, her voice low and venomous. I gave her a serene, innocent smile. "I was merely trying to be helpful. It's important to be neighborly a long flight." My petty, sarcastic countermeasure landed perfectly. I turned her passive-aggressive, gain against her using useless piece of paper. It was a minor victory in the ongoing conflict of row 14, but I'm feeling my little joke could just add fuel to the fire. I had embarrassed her, and an embarrassed Brenda was far more dangerous than a merely annoyed one. The quiet bite of the flight was officially over. The next hour passed in a staid, tense stalemate. Brenda didn't speak. She didn't sigh or shiver. She just sat, radiating fury. Occasionally she made a look so venomous I was apart the armrest then corrode. I kept my attention on my board but remained on eye alert. Wera was sleeping soundly by the window. A relief. The flight encountered a patch of light turbulence. Just a few gentle bumps. The captain's calm voice came over the intercom. "Folks, we're experiencing bit minor chop. We keep the seatbelt sign lune for a short while. Flight. Crew, please take your seats." The plane swayed a bit more, and that's when Brenda made her mule. It was a master abuse of delicious timing disguised as misfortune. She had a cup of ice water on a tray. As the plane gave a noticeable jolt, she picked it up, but her arm seemed to lurch, not toward herself but toward me. A wave of ice-cold water arced through the air. Her wrist turned outward, away from her. Right as the bump hit. Not a flinch. A pour. I saw it in slow motion. I tried to twist away but was trapped. The frigid water splashed across my arm, my side, and the edge of Clara's ruby blanket. Undoubtedly, there was a shocking, cold violation. Lara woke with a start, feeling the dance. "Who hadn't?" she asked, voice thick with sleep. Before I could answer, Brenda burst into action. "Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry," she exclaimed. "It was like that to go." She dabbed my arm with her own napkin. "That awful turbulence. It just knocked the cup right from my grasp. Are you all right?" It was brilliant performance. Too casual as ever, he seemed genuine. But I'd seen her arm move. I'd seen the deliberate angle. This was no accent. This was in talk. Then she thipped the script. Our party morphed into a magazine. She looked to gap spawn grasp like an her spran hein. "Oh, look at this mess. This is your fault," she said, her voice rising, pointing at me. "Had you had it insisted on switching seats, I would have had more room, and this never would have happened. And our blanket, and mildew now, is completely unsanitary." Jos laughed. Aldena first riding rose to turn walk. He poor Sering. A few rows ahead, Aenear's phone to sweetly rose, his recording light glowing. Another phone followed. People weren't just watching, they were documenting. Brenda fanned herself like a swooning aristocrat. "I'm traumatized by the turbulence. It's minor bum," I said, "not a theme park ride." My blood began to boil. The calm, sarcastic demeanor I'd maintained was quacking. The cold water was one thing. Blaming us, trying to bodily shame my sister, was another. "That was non-exane," I stated, my voice low and tight. "I saw what you did." Brenda gasped, placing a hand on her chest in theatrical shock. "How dare you? You're accusing me of doing that intentionally. What is wrong with you?" She was good. Marry good. She jabbed the call button both her hat with fury. Light illuminated, a chime echoing. She was escalating. She was summoning authority, confident her victim narrative would prevail. Chloe arrived, her professional calm intact. "What's the issue?" she asked, her eyes scanning Brenda's furious face in my damn sleeve. Brenda launched into her story. "This man's accused me insulted him with water," she cried. "The plane bummed, my wire spilled, and now it's harassing me. I feel very unsafe." A textbook move. Weaponized fragility. Claim victimhood and demand action. Murmurs spread through. Nearby rose. The court of public opinion was in session. I knew I had to remain calm. Losing my temper would make me look like the aggressor. I took a deep breath. The turbulence was minor, I said to Chloe, keeping my voice steady and factual. She deliberately threw water on me and my sister's blanket. Chloe looked at me, then at Brenda. She saw the phone still pointed our way. She was a seasoned professional. The gears were turning. She knew this was more than a simple spill. She had seen the conflict's origin. She was trying to de-escalate, to contain the situation before it consumed the cabin. She turned to get towels, and in that moment, with Chloe's back turned, Brenda saw another opportunity. Her eyes, filled with triumphant rage, locked back onto the ruby blanket. The water was a prelude, a chaos creator. The real prize was still there, slightly damp, within reach. She believed the campus, the tension, the attendant's presence provide cover. She believed victim status granted her license. Her hands moved again, fingers uncurling for another grab. The water was a distraction. The real assault was imminent. The moment Chloe turned away, Brenda's demeanor shifted. The faux victimhood vanished, replaced by raw, predatory force. Her eyes were locked on the corner blade across my lap. She saw her change. She lunged. It wasn't so weak. It was a fast, aggressive grand. Her arm shooting across my brawny fingers glided at the fafted. All my patience, my sarcastic de-escalation evaporated. Instinct took over. I moved without thought, my hand coming up to lock her arm, my palm flat against her forearm. "No," I said. The word was quiet but absolute. Our arms met mid-air, a tense standoff over the armrest. Her skin was cold and clammy. eyes, inches from mine, wide with manic fury. She was genuinely shocked I had factly stopped her. In her worm, people capitulated. Then Sigfrosta Farmalai. With a guttural snarl of frustration, she used her other hand and shoved me. Hard. My shoulder slammed into the hot plastic seat bag. The entire row shattered. The world went fuzzy for a split second. There was a gluctured gasp. The murmuring stopped. The soul of the should, a flutter of impart cut through the cabinoids. Lara cried out, Liu. Across the aisle, Mr. Arby shoved my feet. Hey, that's enough, he yelled, his voice booming with unexpected authority. This was no longer a petty squabble. This was physical assault in the air. Brenda just made her biggest mistake and everyone had witnessed it. Chloe spun round, her eyes widening. The combiner was gone. Man, step back now, she commanded, her voice like ice. Brenda, realizing her error, slowly pulled her arm back. She looked at her hand as if it had betrayed her. She had lost control. The phones recording were no longer capturing mere drama. They were gathering evidence. I took a ragged breath. I looked at Clara. Her face was pale, her eyes filled with fear and fierce protective anger. She was scared, but not cowering. She was looking right at Brenda. That look solidified my resolve. No more games. This was about safety now. I need you to come with me, Lois said to Brenda, a voice low and firm. Brenda shook her head, starting to babble. He had me first. You let go. In self-defense. You saw it, right? He was sweating me. A desperate attempt to rewrite history witnessed by dozens. No one spoke in her defense. The silence was her verdict. Chloe was already on the interphone. I caught phrases. Assault on a passenger. Row 14. Yes, Captain. Understood. She was taunting to the flight deck. This was now a matter for the captain. When she hung up, she returned to the clipboard. She looked at me. Sir, are you injured? I wrote I sure. It was sore, but functional. I'm okay. Shake a nut. I need your statement, she said. Tell me exactly what happened from the beginning. As I recounted the events, the initial demand, the warnings, the seat swap, the water, the shove, the atmosphere on the plane shifted. We became a community. A man from the row behind, a large man with a military-style haircut, leaned forward. I witnessed the entire event, he told Chloe. She was the aggressor from the start. I have video. Mr. Albright added, as do I. The shove was entirely unprovoked. The young man was protecting his sister. A woman a few seats away said, she's been harassing him since boarding. The evidence was overwhelming. Brenda's near grumbled. She sat in stunned silence as her fellow passengers dismantled lies. Chloe inched sallied. She then spoke to Brenda. Ma'am, I have consulted with the captain. Due to your physically aggressive behavior and interference with the flight crew's duties, you are being relocated for the remainder of the flight. She pointed toward the rear. There's an empty seat in the final row. You move there. Nam. Official consequence. Separation. Removal from the battlefield. Brenda looked at Chloe, and a slow, ugly smile spread across her face. It was pure defiance. No, she said. The word was quiet but landed like a detonation. I'm not moving. This is my seat. I paid for it. Disbelief rippled through the cabin. Defying a direct order from the captain is a cardinal sin of air travel. Chloe didn't flinch. Ma'am, this is not a request. It is a direct instruction from the captain for the safety of this flight. You will collect your belongings and move immediately. Brenda crossed her arms. And if I don't, what do you do? Make me? She sneered. Chloe's eyes narrowed. The captain has several options. All conclude you be met by law enforcement. Upon landing, Son von Bevering his aircraft to the Muse airport, where you also be met by law enforcement, and you be responsible for diversion costs, which far exceed your ticket price. The threat was clear. precise, and financially devastating. Brenda's smug expression wavered. Realt done. She was in metal to 35,000 feet, and she had declared war on command. Chloe set her grade. The entire section held its breath. The Sir Upright watched intently. The man with the military haircut, who I now knew as Ben, leaned forward, posture alert and ready. He wasn't just observing. He was assessing. Brenda looked around for an ally. She found none. Only stern faces and smartphone lenses. Her defiance crumbled into solemn resentment. She muttered, then Solly angrily gathered her purse. She was defiant. Chloe gestured for her to move into the aisle. Brenda stood, movement jerky with rage. She shouted "Funnel hail, Claire, mean Clara." "This is our fault," she hissed. I met her gaze, expression blank. There was nothing left to say. But just as she was about to step into the aisle, the no time of the seatbelt sign echoed. The captain tui at a new age. "Lie, attendants, please be seated for lane. We are on final approach." The worst possible timing. We were descending. Those quick of these, requiring everyone to be seated and buckled. And Brenda was staying. A volatile almond. Chloe's face tightened. "Man, you need to proceed to back immediately or a 20-year sheet fasten her belt." We're landy. Wenda saw our loophole. A final desperate chance to cause chaos. "The captain said to be seated for landy," he said. A triumphant smirk returned. "Unfollowing orders." She sat back down in 14C and buckled her seatbelt with a loud, deliberate click. She'd won the battle of the Sate for Nan. Chloe looked frustrated. At the Ross were Clea. His a passenger Landy was a greary me danger. With an apologetic nod to me, she hurried to her jump seat. The storm was contained, but it remained beside me. The plane descended, and I knew, with chilling certainty, this wasn't over. When I had one last move. The 20-minute descent was the most tense of my life. Rage simmered next to me. Brenda sat rigid, knuckles white, eyes fixed ahead, plotting. I kept a hand on Clara's arm. She was being incredibly brave, staring out the window, jaw set, her ruby blanket pulled tight. She was enduring. Beside me, Ben Ford, the retired Army veteran, and relaxed. He was poised, Ray. He caught my eye in the window's reflection, and gave a sharp nod. "I got your back." The wheels screeched on the runway, reverse thrusters roaring. We were dying. Sate. Or so I thought. As the plane taxied, the time rang. Settling was safe to use devices. But before anyone could, the captain's voice returned. There was a command. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated with their seatbelt fastened. I repeat, all passengers have to wait here until the aircraft at the gate and the seatbelt signs off. Do not stand. Do not open overhead bins. Remain seated." The message was repeated. The tone was absolute. Everyone knew this was because of us. Because of Brenda. I could feel her vibrate with fury. She'd lost. And the entire plane's being held on her account. The ultimate public shamey. And that's when he snapped. The moment the plane stopped with it had reached connected, the seatbelt sign pinged off. In that exact second, Brandon's seatbelt clacked open. She didn't wait. She exploded from her seat. "Get me that blanket," she shrieked, her voice raw and desperate. She lunged, throwing her entire body over me, arms outstretched, hands clawing for Clara. It was a wild, last-ditch attack. As she never made contact, I was braced. My arm came up, a solid bar. Simultaneously, Ben Ford was out of his seat behind us. He wasn't aggressive. He was simply there. Immovable object. He gripped her shoulders, halting our momentum. "That's enough, ma'am." "Sit down," he said, his voice low, calm rumble more par than any shot. She staggered, a tread down. It was useless. Caught between my block and Ben's hold, a fine lun throughout. The cow ran into the bus, and all eyes turned forward. A cabin door was open, and one disembarking passengers. Two different police officers in the doorway. They stepped on board, their presence shifting the atmosphere entirely. Here come, One spoke quietly with Chloe, who pointed to our row. Row 14. The officers walked down the aisle. I saw Brenda restrained by Ben. They saw me shielding Claire. They saw the phone cameras. Brenda saw 'em, all fight drained from her. The body sighed. The ray in her eyes was replaced by horrified disdain. It was over. The lead officer, a tall man with a calm demeanor, arrived. "Sir, can you release the lady, please?" he asked Ben. Ben immediately complied, stepping back. Brenda stood defeated, her taupe outfit rumpled. "Ma'am, I'm Officer Miller. We received a report of a disturbance. You need to gather your belongings and come with us." Brenda opened her mouth to protest, to offer her version. The officer held out a hand. "You have time for a statement. Right now, you're coming with us." Defeated, she retrieved her purse. A second officer brought her taupe suitcase from the ore bin. As they led her away, the passenger spoke up. She saw to him. "Waist called?" "I vow," said another. Mr. Albright stood. "Officer," he said, helping at this phone, "I fritted the entire incident from the initial car pertained to the first cursor. Officer Miller pars." "Thank you, sir. If anyone has video evidence, please wait for my partner." The other officer stayed behind. The moment Brenda was gone, a pressure valve released. A ripple, quite relayed a pause, broke out in our section. The remaining officer was patient and professional. He took the ones Vinny, Ben, and Mr. Albright. Ben Ford, at Fondal, was Repard Meister Sarton. His statement was a masterpiece of factual, chronological accounting. He, Mr. Albright, and others share their video evidence. I gave my staying calmly, as swaying sought the Foskling Barmakel Comfortheim and ended with assault. I praised Chloe's professionalism. The officer then note by Clara Seek. "Mound," he said gently. "You cane? Deneen hing." Claire looked at him and her composure cracked slightly. A single tear rolled down. "Okay now," she whispered. "My brother protecting me." He nodded kindly. "He certainly did. You have a good brother." After the police left and the passengers disembarked, we took our time. Chloe turned. She looked tired, relieved. "I'm so sorry about the stereotype," she sighed, her voice full of empathy. "You handled yourselves remarkably well." "You were. Doing managed it, I do. You were incredible. Thank you." "Just doing my job," she said at Stalswy. "This was more eventful than usual." She faithful report be filed with the airline and FAA. Brenda faced a memo as a sanctified the airline for shipping the passenger and reviewing crew instructions. She faced federal charges for interfering with the flight crew, additional fines, and a likely no-fly list review. Justice, it seemed, had a process. We were the last of the playing. Stepping into a terminal, the air felt fresh and calm. The ordeal was o'er. Clara walked beside me, her ruby blanket folded neatly in her bite. She had knees weighted in war. She was breathing easily. She looked up at me, her eyes clear. "You know," she said, a style smile playing on her lips. "For a moment there, I was worried. Then you offered to that naggin, and I knew it'd be all right." I laughed, slaying our on to shore. "Hey, would it be pause for? Besides, I didn't go not to underestimate Pars Tirk Piers." Peter repart ways, I told Chloe. "Thanks for holding line." She smiled. "Best line I've held all day." I nodded. "And the warmest." She laughed, a genuine sound, and the last of the flight's tension finally held. Walked I at a bright terminal, leaving the Kales a row 14 behind. Van Lassen tried to see my sister's peace, but all is secured to police, escort, a stack of fines, and soy hundreds would rig out. And Clary. She walked out with her brother beside her, and her ruby blanket safely stowed. A quiet warrior who had faced a tempest at 35,000 feet, and emerged steadfast and secure.